at summits like this, I think there was a lot of tension. The members of the other states were pushing Trump on a number of issues, on tariffs, on Russia, on the Middle East.
And now welcome to the programme Fred Fleitz, who was Chief of Staff at the American National Security Council during President Trump's first term. Fred, welcome back to the programme.
Hey, John, good to be here.
It's good to have you here. I want to ask you naturally about the situation in the Middle East, but we were listening there to comments from Volodymyr Zelensky and Mark Carney on Ukraine and Russia. Just tell me briefly, if you could, Fred, are you completely comfortable with the way President Trump left this meeting with no particular contribution on the Russian-Ukraine issue, and certainly no move to intensify pressure through sanctions on Russia to end the attack, leaving the other members of the G7 to actually go it alone in their own, I suppose, necessarily limited way? Is that comfortable for you?
I think the behavior of Putin in Russia has been it's simply so detestable. How this war continues to accelerate, how Putin is ignoring what Trump has been trying to do, ignoring the international community, pressing forward with this war despite peace efforts. Trump walked away from the G7 summit because of the situation in the Middle East. But I do think his patience with Putin is running out. And I think eventually he's going to move towards very tough sanctions against Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but recalling, Fred, I mean, we've spoken on this subject at reasonably regular intervals over recent weeks. And a couple of weeks ago, you did share your view that the president was running out of patience with Vladimir Putin and heavy sanctions were coming. We heard the same thing 2 weeks before that. And now the president has left with no move towards tougher sanctions, and having already said it is his intention to leave Ukraine and Russia to fight it out like kids in a playground. Now, this is surely something which would have Putin in the Kremlin laughing with delight.
There is strong support in the U.S. Congress, bipartisan support for tough sanctions against Russia. There are quite a few senators, Republican senators, who are pushing that. I think that's where U.S. policy is going.
The president has said that essentially he will be calling the shots on whether or not there is a new sanctions measure put through Congress, not those Congress people.
Well, I'm just telling you that I think that we will be moving towards sanctions at summits like this. I think there was a lot of tension. The members of the other states were pushing Trump on a number of issues, on tariffs, on Russia, on the Middle East. I think Trump left early for a lot of reasons, but I think part of it was that, I think he just had enough of the tense encounters he was having with other members of the summit.
All right. Okay. Well, as always, I suppose let us see. But the evidence of the president's disinclination to take action against Putin does seem to be growing, to put it mildly. Now on Iran, Fred, do you feel you understand President Trump's approach to the Iran-Israel crisis? I mean, he is not pushing for or seeking a ceasefire. He repudiates the idea that he might be doing that. And what do you think he has in mind? What do you think he might be planning?
Well, Trump has what he calls the America First approach to U.S. national security, which I know outside of the U.S. sounds like isolation. It is not. It is a strategy to factor in the interests of the American people in foreign policy decisions and to keep our nation out of unnecessary wars. And Trump's preference is to use negotiations long before he considers the use of military force. But I think the issue here is that Trump clarified last night that stopping Iran's nuclear program, stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, is part of his America First approach. And I think for that reason, he's going to consider negotiations and consider an effort to pause the hostilities if Iran agrees to give up its nuclear weapons program. And that includes its enrichment program. The only purpose of that program is to make nuclear weapons fuel. I think the world is coming to that conclusion. If Iran agrees to give up its enrichment program, I think Trump will make them a pretty good deal. Okay,
well, that's a very big if. I mean, isn't it? We're talking about effectively Iran giving up and surrendering its nuclear capability. There's no sign of that coming. Their rhetoric is very, very warlike indeed. And we see Carl Bildt, the former Prime Minister of Sweden, has just posted on social media some as it were, evidence that American air tankers are now being moved from America to Europe. He says it looks like Trump is going to war.
Well, I'd first say that we're in a different situation right now. No one thought that Israel would conduct such a massive and successful series of airstrikes against Iran. And we have to hope that this is leading Iran's officials to think differently and to give up their fanatic hatred of Israel in pursuit of nuclear weapons and agree to a real peaceful nuclear program.
Hmm.
And having said that, I think you're right. It looks like the U.S. is positioning itself to possibly bomb Iran, maybe by dropping bunker buster bombs on the Fordo enrichment site. I don't think Trump has decided to do that yet, but the prospect of doing that may get Iran to the negotiating table and may get them to negotiate in good faith.
Well, I suppose, of course, that is a possibility. It could also lead to a conflagration in the region and huge disruption in the region and also to global trade. That would be, I suppose, a pretty clear consequence, wouldn't it, Fred?
I think neutering Iran and limiting its ability to sponsor terrorism and destabilize the region, destabilize the Persian Gulf, pursue ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons would be stabilizing. And I think the region would thank the U.S. and Israel for it, maybe not publicly. But Iran is a rogue state that's backing terrorism. It backed the Hamas October 7th attack against Israel. Iran has been a problem for global security for a long time. I'm not calling for regime change, but if Iran continues to engage in these belligerent activities, eventually there was going to be a response by the international community. Israel has started that response.
Okay, last question, Fred, only because we are short of time and I have to go to the news in a minute. Thanks for joining us. What are we to make then of the available evidence of Iran's nuclear intentions? I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence appointed by President Trump, she said in March that the US intelligence community, and I'm quoting now, continues to assess Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. And Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. And then last night on Air Force One, President Trump said, I don't care what she said. I think that they are building a nuclear weapon. I mean, what are we to make of that?
I've written extensively on this issue, and I've called for Tulsi Gabbard to recall a politicized 2007 national intelligence estimate, which has been called by a former CIA director stupid intelligence, because it started this fake argument that Iran has not been pursuing nuclear weapons. It did not stop pursuing nuclear weapons in 2003. It's continuing to pursue them today. And I hope Gabbard takes that back and recognizes that our intelligence community has been politicizing analysis of the Iranian nuclear program for decades. It started under the George W. Bush administration. But I read my analysis in American Greatness on how Gabbard has to recall stupid intelligence on Iran's nuclear program.
Right, so the Director of National Intelligence is recycling what you call stupid intelligence.
I think she relied on career officers, many of whom she's letting go. So I don't want to criticize her. She made this statement before Congress just after she was confirmed. I like her a lot. I endorsed her. But I think that this particular assessment has been wrong for a long time. It has to be recalled. And I think we have to recognize that Iran has never dropped its pursuit of nuclear weapons.
Okay, well, you will understand the confusion. But for now, Fred Fleitz, thank you so much for joining us on the show, as always.